golfers, Nick here from Nick Taylor Golf. It's Friday, so welcome to another lesson on golf tips. This week on Golf Tips, we're going to talk about the role of the left arm, how that plays an important key role, the elbows and the wrists to help us strike the golf ball better. So if you look at the best golfers in the world, as they strike the golf ball, their shaft and left arm won't actually get in line until just after impact, so basically the low point of the golf swing. Once the club and the left arm are in line, the club's reached its longest point. So if I set up to the ball here, if I start bending my wrist, the club moves away from the ground because it's shorter distance from my shoulder. So as you're coming down, we don't want the club to get in line with the forearm until low point, which is after impact. One of the biggest faults I see in average golfers is in their swing, as they're coming back down, they lose the angle in their wrists, they lose their lag, and as they get to about this point, the shaft gets in line with the forearm and it's reached its longest point. So a couple of things are going to happen. Either the club's going to continue and hit the ground before the golf ball, or the golfer is going to start to bend their arm to stop the club from hitting the ground too early, and either going to thin the golf ball or they may hit a good shot. So if they bend their arm the right amount at the right time, they could strike the golf ball. So that's why I see a lot of inconsistencies in ball striking with a lot of golfers, is they coming down, they've lost that angle, arm bends, and causes a whole host of problems. Low point, but also generally slices as well, because as you're coming into the golf ball, if you start to let this wrist break down, club face opens, this arm bends, the likelihood is that club face, as it goes through, is going to start to open to the path of the swing, and you're going to slice the golf ball. So like I said, the best golfers, as they come down, the shaft and the left arm, they get in line about here. And it's the same with the driver. So I'm going to put some pictures on the screen here of some of the best golfers with their driver and with irons, and you'll see the same thing lined up at low point just after impact here. So that's what we're looking for. So if you're one of those golfers that looks a little bit more like this, then you need to work on it. And to change that is not easy. So you have to work on little drills. So in my experience, golfers that they lose their angle here, arm starts to bend, generally they're probably not hinged their wrists enough in the golf swing. So if you look at the best golfers, I've talked about this in other videos, but as their swing goes to the top, a lot of things are happening. Shoulders coming down, knee flex is changing, but also the hands are moving in, but also the wrists are starting to hinge. So if you look at a lot of the best golfers in the golf swing, as they're going back, they're probably about here. So the shaft's probably just over 90 degrees from the forearm here. But as they start down, by the time they get to left arm parallel, you're looking at more like a 70-degree angle. I see a lot of golfers that I coach that as they come down, they're probably more like 100 degrees or plus as they're coming down, and from there, that's when they start to lose the angle in the wrist, and the club will start to reach in line with the forearm way too early in the golf swing, causing a whole host of problems. So if you're one of those golfers, then what I suggest you do is when you're practicing, is to try and break the swing down into shorter movements. It's much easier to sort of focus on what you're doing if you keep the swing a little bit shorter. So if you're one of those golfers that probably hasn't got enough wrist set in the golf swing, what I suggest you do is just make some swings, half swing. So I'm only going to go back to about here with the left arm's parallel, but what I'm looking for is roughly a 90-degree angle, roughly, a bit more if you can. And then from there, what we're going to do is swing through to the finish, similar sort of mirror on the finish. So you can see my weight's on the left, see that roughly that 90-degree angle again. So what I've done there is I've hinged my wrists and just make sure that as I come down, that I try and keep the hands a little bit more forward as I go through, but still re-hinging on the finish. A really good feeling for this is to really feel like you're squeezing the elbows together. That's really important, because a lot of golfers, if they do lose this angle, the elbows start to pull apart, makes it very difficult to strike the golf ball well, but also then tends to lead to an open club face. So squeeze the elbows together, swing up to here and swing through. Notice I've finished my weight on the left here. What I'd say is, because it's such a short swing, or shorter than normal, don't really have as much time to move the weight through. So when I set up here, I'm just going to preset my lower body weight here, like the best golfers do, as they hit through their weights on the left. So I'm going to preset my weight. I'm going to really squeeze my elbows together. I feel like I'm hinging to here, and then through to the finish. So all I'm going to do on the finish is just make sure I've pushed my weight through, make sure I squeeze my elbows together as I hit through. So I'll give it a go. This is only like a little drill. I've got a 9-iron here, so use something with a little bit of loft. 8, 9 irons probably good, or even a wedge. So set up, weights on the left already, hands slightly forward, squeeze the elbows to 90, and then same on the finish as well. Okay, so something like that. That wasn't too bad, so I'm going to slow that down so you can see that in slow motion, but I was really feeling squeezing the elbows, hinging the wrists, trying to make sure I load these wrists a little bit more in the golf swing. So like I said, generally a lot of golfers are losing their angle as they come back down. So another key position to look for in your swing, if you video it, is as you're coming down, I mentioned the left arm parallel, but also when the shaft's parallel at this point. Notice my weight is here. Notice the hands are sort of covering my right thigh. So if you're videoing your swing and you look a little bit more like this, weight's not far enough forward, and you start to see daylight here, you're probably going to start to lose that angle. You're going to lose control over the low point. So there's a few checkpoints there for you to look for, and there's a drill there for you to practice. So I'm going to do the drill once more. I'm going to do it this time and speed it up a little bit more. So when you're practicing, rather than trying to lengthen the swing to make it harder, just speed it up, doing the same swing to here, but just a little bit harder. So let's try it once more. Weight on the left, hands forward. I feel like I'm really squeezing the elbows here as I go back. Try and hinge to 90. Okay, not bad. So I really feel like I pushed my weight through there. Notice how my hips are forward as I went through there. That's really important in terms of strike, power, and also maintaining your inclination to the ground throughout the golf swing. So give that drill a go. If you're one of those golfers that doesn't quite get in line at this point, try and make sure you hinge your wrists, make sure you try and practice that drill, squeeze the elbows together, and that should really help you. So golfers, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can also follow me on my other social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.